It was supposed to be just another long night at the restaurant. The clatter of dishes, the smell of roasted garlic in the air, and the soft hum of conversations from customers who had no idea that the man refilling their water glasses was running on 3 hours of sleep. But for Adrian Cole, that night was about to become the kind he'd never forget. The kind that changes everything in a quiet, irreversible way. The rain outside had turned the city streets into sheets of silver. Adrian stood by the kitchen door, glancing occasionally at his watch, thinking of his daughter waiting at home with the babysitter. His shift was almost over, but the woman sitting alone at the corner table wasn't leaving. He recognized her immediately, Cassandra Rivers, the new regional manager of the restaurant chain. The woman who had walked in 3 weeks ago with confidence so sharp it could cut glass. She was beautiful, successful, intimidating, and tonight, completely out of her element. Her makeup was smudged, her hair slightly out of place, and the empty wine glasses on her table told the rest of the story. She was drunk, clearly trying to drown something she couldn't face sober. When she stood up to leave, she stumbled just once, but enough to make Adrian's chest tighten. The manager on duty ignored her. The servers whispered. Adrian sighed, grabbed his jacket, and followed her out. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, redemption, and second chances, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support helps us share more real and inspiring human stories like this one. Cassandra had reached the curb, fumbling for her car keys. Her black sedan gleamed wet under the streetlight. Adrian hurried forward, stepping into the rain. "Mom, I don't think you should drive," he said carefully, his voice steady but kind. She blinked at him, eyes unfocused. "You work at the restaurant, right? You think you can tell me what to do?" Her words slurred, defiant. "I just don't want you to get hurt," he said softly. But before he could say more, she tried to open her car door and dropped her purse. He caught it before it hit the ground. "Please," he urged, "let me call you a cab." For a moment she just stared at him, drenched in rain, holding her purse like a lifeline. Something in his tone, maybe the quiet sincerity, made her exhale. "Fine," she muttered, and when her knees buckled slightly, he caught her. The contact startled both of them, her expensive perfume mixing with the smell of rain and exhaustion. He guided her to the sidewalk bench and handed her a bottle of water from his bag. "You're freezing," he murmured, shrugging off his jacket and placing it gently around her shoulders. She didn't protest. Her gaze wandered over the empty street, and for a fleeting second, the strong, cold corporate woman was gone, replaced by someone fragile, lost. When the cab arrived, she was barely awake. Adrian helped her inside, gave the driver her address. It was on the ID in her purse, and followed to make sure she got home safe. By the time they reached her apartment, she was asleep. He paid the driver and helped her upstairs, steadying her as she leaned on him. The hallway was quiet. The lights flickered slightly. He opened her door, led her to the couch, and placed a glass of water beside her before leaving. He didn't expect anything, not thanks, not recognition. He just couldn't have lived with himself if he'd let her drive that night. The next morning, he was back at the restaurant at 8 a.m., wearing the same tired smile, pretending nothing had happened. His co-workers joked about how she probably wouldn't even remember. He agreed quietly, polishing a table. But when Cassandra walked in later that morning, in a crisp white blouse, hair tied neatly, the room seemed to freeze. Her eyes met his instantly. For a heartbeat, neither spoke. Then she walked straight to him. "You came last night," she said, softly, her voice low enough that only he could hear. "You made sure I got home." Adrian hesitated. "I just didn't want you to be in danger, ma'am. That's all." But she didn't nod and walk away. She didn't pretend to forget. Instead, she took a breath, her eyes glimmering with something unspoken. "Thank you," she said. "You didn't have to do that." From that moment on, something changed, quietly, almost invisibly. Cassandra started noticing things she'd never paid attention to before. How Adrian always stayed late to clean up after everyone else had gone home. How he refused overtime because he had to pick up his daughter, Maya, from school. How he never complained even when others did. She found out he was a single father, His wife had passed away 2 years earlier, leaving him with a 6-year-old girl and bills that barely waited. He lived in a tiny one-bedroom apartment, rode a second-hand motorbike, and still managed to bring his daughter a new storybook every Friday. Cassandra couldn't explain why she began thinking about him long after work hours, about his quiet resilience, the way he smiled even when the world gave him nothing to smile about. One Friday afternoon, after a particularly stressful meeting, Cassandra found herself walking into the back of the restaurant where Adrian was restocking supplies. "You said your daughter likes drawing, right?" she asked awkwardly. He blinked, surprised. "Yes, she does. Why?" "I have some spare sketchbooks and colored pencils at home," she said. "Maybe she'd like them." Adrian smiled, not the polite kind he gave customers, but a real one. "She'd love that. Thank you." That small gesture became the beginning of something unexpected. Over the next few weeks, Cassandra began joining him during closing time, sometimes just to talk. She learned that Adrian had once dreamed of being a music teacher before life took that away. He learned that beneath her polished exterior, Cassandra carried her own scars, a divorce that had shattered her trust, a life spent climbing ladders that led nowhere meaningful. The restaurant became their quiet middle ground, a place where exhaustion met understanding. One evening, after everyone left, Cassandra stayed behind as Adrian mopped the floor. "You know," she said softly, "I used to think people like you were just too good to be true, that no one really stayed kind after life broke them." Adrian looked up, pausing mid-motion. "Maybe kindness isn't something you're born with," he said gently. "Maybe it's something you hold on to, because you know what it feels like when the world forgets to be kind." Her eyes stung unexpectedly. She turned away, pretending to check her phone, but her heart wasn't the same anymore. Days turned into weeks. Their conversations deepened, their silences grew comfortable. Maya adored Cassandra from the first moment she met her, a Saturday when Cassandra dropped by their apartment to deliver the art supplies herself. The little girl had hugged her instantly, calling her Cassie, and something inside Cassandra melted completely. From then on, she visited more often, bringing dinner, helping Maya with her homework, sitting on the worn-out couch while Adrian made tea. The walls of that small apartment slowly filled with laughter, warmth, and something that neither of them dared to name yet. But life, as always, had its way of testing what was fragile. One afternoon, a senior executive from headquarters visited unexpectedly. During lunch, he made a crude remark about Adrian, implying Cassandra was favoring a low-level employee for personal reasons. The words burned her ears. She stood up, her voice steady but furious, and said, "Adrian Cole is the most decent man in this building. You don't speak his name with disrespect." Everyone in the room fell silent. Cassandra didn't care about the consequences. For the first time, she defended not just an employee, but someone who had unknowingly given her back a piece of her humanity. That night, she went to Adrian's apartment again. He was on the balcony, fixing a broken light bulb. When he saw her, his face softened. "You shouldn't have done that," he said quietly. "You could get in trouble." "Maybe," she whispered. "But I couldn't let them speak about you like that." He smiled, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. "You didn't have to save me, Cassandra." She took a step closer, her voice trembling. "You saved me first." For a moment, time stood still. Two lonely hearts standing in the glow of a single flickering bulb, realizing that kindness can sometimes lead you home in the most unexpected way. Months later, when Cassandra was promoted to a higher position and offered a transfer to another city, she hesitated. She looked at Maya's drawings pinned to her fridge. One of them showed the three of them holding hands under a bright yellow sun. Cassandra knew then that success without love meant nothing. She turned down the transfer and chose to stay, not because of obligation, but because she'd found something worth more than ambition ever gave her. A year later, the restaurant was bustling again, but this time, Adrian wasn't behind the counter. Cassandra had helped him open his own small cafe, a place filled with music, laughter, and the smell of freshly baked bread. Maya had her own little art corner near the window, and Cassandra visited almost every day, bringing new ideas and warmth that made the space feel alive. One sunny afternoon, as customers filled the cafe, Adrian looked at Cassandra across the room. She smiled, the kind of smile that said she remembered everything, the rain, the bench, the night he refused to walk away. And for the first time in years, Adrian realized that sometimes saving someone in their weakest moment is about expecting anything in return. It's about unknowingly opening a door that both hearts needed. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and share this video. Your support helps Kindness Journal reach more people who believe in empathy, hope, and the quiet power of second chances. Special request in the comments: share one moment when someone's kindness changed your day. You never know whose heart your story might heal.